All right, I just hit record.
Wait a second. Let me grab coffee.
Oh, hello.
Morning,
Happy
Jen.
Wednesday.
Yay, I know, another out of routine day for filming this pod.
Yes, we'll get back to Fridays at some point, but I think this one is great timing wise, though, because we are connecting on the Wednesday after Super Bowl, which means we have some hot takes on the Super Bowl ads and what we saw, what we heard, and it's perfect timing to talk about it, right?
Yeah, it's a huge week for marketers everywhere. Really, last week. People are exhaling this week, right? But despite a kind of lethargic game, the ads, I would say, delivered.
Before we get into that, let's talk for a second about why we're even talking about this, because
Sure.
we are advertising adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that, like, to make it clear as to where this fits within our world, I would outline maybe 3 buckets or so, but keep me honest here. So the first is our team, people on our team, we've always been tapped with getting these ads out before the Super Bowl happens. So if you read any of the advertising trades, you'll notice that, most of these ads are talked about 2 weeks in advance of the actual Super Bowl. And it gives the companies paying for the ads more of a spotlight, more of a voice to tell the stories behind these advertisements. So it's not just a one and done.
And I would say the advertisers are doing a nice time of following suit on that, as well as their agencies in terms of teasing content is really great in terms of an asset that we can shop.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think that the industry as a whole has kind of come together around making this more of a bigger moment in time. So that's kind of the first one. The second one is, and it's connected to what you just said, Em, which is oftentimes these ads for the advertisers it's not just a one and done. It's either a continuation of a campaign that they have going on, or it's the launch of a campaign that they will have going on for the rest of the year. And so that typically means that the communications and PR team has a heavy hand in what that looks like and how it comes to life for the X months, following or beforehand. I think those are really the big pieces of how it comes to play. And then you did also see some companies this year either step away from traditional ads or do an and on top of it and create more customer interactions and real-time activations and almost like events. And so that is definitely where our teams have a large role to play. And I was excited to see some of those. I thought they were really fun.
Yeah, I mean, people are just getting more and more innovative, and we saw that with Skittles this year. Yeah.
So let's start there. Let's start with the kind of unconventional campaigns we saw. I think 2 stuck out for us. One was Skittles. And I saw a couple really nice interviews that Skittles had done about why they transformed and kind of went this way. One was Skittles, where they had a contest prior to the Super Bowl, and then they filmed a live ad at a customer's house using Elijah Wood and their 2 key characters or icons that you often see in their advertisement. And I thought it was a really fun take. It was really different. I saw a lot more media on it because it was different and differentiated from what was happening. So I don't know. I was a fan of it. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I think they had a really good use of celebrity and Elijah for that one as well. He was like, the portrayal of a mythical creature of some sort, it seemed.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can kind of always count on Skittles to be out of the ordinary, taste the rainbow, very brand specific, keeping with that equity and just being a little zany. I think that their fans really appreciate that.
And I'm curious. So it was a partnership with GoPuff, and GoPuff is very present in this activation. There's like a huge truck that rolled up and it had GoPuff written on the outside of it. And I was trying to kind of find through the media if this was an ongoing partnership, because it is all about enabling people to taste the rainbow quickly. And I think it's like a 15-minute time frame or something. It's something crazy.
Oh, wow, that is insane.
I know. And don't quote me there. I might not be getting it exactly right, but it is it's like get it instantly almost. Yeah. So I couldn't find if this is a long-term partnership with GoPuff, but it would make sense that this is kind of like the first step in that partnership for them to facilitate the ability for people to have Skittles quickly.
Yeah, but I also think in terms of breakthrough, I mean, I know there are a lot of users on GoPuff. We started hearing about them, I mean, years ago, right? I can't even put a timestamp on it. It's actually not something I use, but I would consider it now that, this partnership has been made and the the value prop has been stated. If they deliver these things so quickly, then why wouldn't I give it a try? So I
Yeah.
think they're on to something smart and they've broken through with the message.
Yeah. The other more like activation based one that I really, really liked was the Lay's 72-hour one. And we
Right.
actually had a friend who did this, which I thought was
Which
cool.
is
So
awesome.
Lay's had a quick ad. It was a farmer walking through a potato farm, talking about kind of where the chips come from. And they had a QR code on it, and you could scan the QR code, get chips within 72 hours. I just really liked the execution of it. I thought it was cool. And then in speaking to the friend who was one of those first people to do it, he was telling us that I think it was 3 a.m. He got a message that said, like, your chips are in the fryer. They're going to be on the way soon. So it was really cool follow through. That was not their lead ad. And I almost wish it was because it was so different. And I'm guessing it was a little more of a test and learn. We can go into this because I think you and I have differing opinions on kind of getting like the feels from some of these ads. I admittedly am not a huge fan of overly emotional ads for the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is the time for advertisers to do some storytelling, some more rich storytelling. And I love that, but I don't love when they lean too sappy. And so the Lay's Last Harvest ad I watched, and I liked the ad in general. I did not like it in the context of the Super Bowl. It just didn't fit well for me.
It's fair, Jenna. I completely see what you're saying. I like to feel that kind of tug at the heartstring in any content at any time. But, even in the rewatch of Potato Farmers, I was like generational. And, again, it kind of gets to the point of these potato farmers. It is, one of the original American iconic generational trades, right?
Yeah.
Farming.
Yeah.
And you sort of forget about it and in today's world of new things popping up here and there, our attention being all over the place. But I liked it. I liked that it was a dad passing it down to a daughter as well.
Yeah.
A little bit of a different take there as well. And it just gave a moment of repose in the freneticism of the commercials, the game itself, etc. So I'm all for it, but I do appreciate that ad is great for you contextually. You take it out, you put it in something else and you're there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the ad itself, I loved. I could appreciate all of
Yeah.
it. And it hit the right emotional balance in terms of like pulling at the heartstrings and getting close to evoking tears and that whole thing. But it didn't strike me well. And look, I watched the game at a friend's house with about 5 other families with a bunch of little kids running
Lots of
around.
distraction.
So like that's not the best environment for me to receive something like that. So I think there's that context too.
I will say, thank God that dog lasted to the last frame. I was so worried. I was like, come on, dog, you got this. And their old yeller was just a little hair around the muzzle, but thank you,
Gosh.
Liz, for doing that for us.
Okay, now I will say one ad that was a more emotional ad that struck the right chords for me and felt more right in the context of the game was the Budweiser ad.
Love, love, love. I mean, so I think they were doing quite a few things there. It goes back to last pod's talk about sort of iconography and brand equity around iconography versus attaching celeb on a potentially and usually one-off scenario, which is fun at the time, but then, and it breaks through, but the longevity, especially in a sea of brands that are doing this at the Super Bowl time,
Yeah.
you're kind of curious at how that helps. But if you use the iconography of the Clydesdale, which was celebrating 150 Budweiser, and then you attach it to this iconic American bald eagle celebrating our nation's 250th, there's a nice parallel there. Who doesn't love a good nurturing back to health story? I loved
Yeah.
that last shot where it looked like the Clydesdale turned into a Pegasus. And it was just feel good from soup to nuts. And then, the cherry on top, Leonard Skinner's Freebird. It
Oh,
was just a
yeah. Yeah.
perfect song for that. The crescendo, the magic of it, the bigness of it. I was all in on
Yeah.
Budweiser.
No, I agree. I loved it. Okay, I'm gonna go backward for a minute to you mentioned AI being kind of all over the Super Bowl ads. And I take that in two ways. One, that it was actually used in ads, but two, that there were so many ads for AI in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
I don't know if this is a hot take or not. I actually did not see in the write-ups about all of these ads, I didn't see a ton about Anthropic, but I really liked their ads. I really did. I don't know. They were different and just made you pause and think for a minute about where is AI going and are we going to start to get served ads within the responses from something like a ChatGPT, and how are we going to feel about that? And I don't know. I thought it was thought provoking, but in a fun and lighthearted way. So I had a few more on my list I wanted to touch on.
Great.
A few more favorites. Pepsi, the choice. We actually talked about this last week. This is the one with the polar bear, and the polar bear suffering the identity crisis because, as many people know, a polar bear has long been an icon for Coca-Cola. I thought this was just fun. It was a fun little poke in jest. I thought it was well done.
Look, two colossal CPG brands kind of going at it, and it's okay. I think it's friendly fun, friendly fire, and I think it really works. On that note, I really liked Pringoleo too. This is obviously an example of attaching celebrity. I think Sabrina is such an interesting character to me because she's sort of in jest on, she has this very specific personality that works for the content of the commercial, and her facial expressions, however slight, were just kind of so perfect for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that one was really kind of fun and well done by another big CPG brand.
Yep. Levi's. They were back the first time in like 2 decades, I think. Yeah, it was a long time. And they came back with such a fun ad. I feel like it just had everyone, it just struck the right tone in so many ways. It had everyone kind of bopping along and dancing. And what a great way to come back.
Throwback iconography. You recognize quite a few of those things, like the Bruce Springsteen, quick frame. I loved that Doechii was the surprise at the end. She's so contemporary and fresh. And, it's aspirational too. I would like my backside to look like that in a pair of Levi's. I would honestly take any of those frames. I'd be happy with that.
The Michelob Ultra one also had me laughing. And that was a fun one with Kurt Russell and training the skier. I forget the skier's name, but it riffed off a little bit of, I think, Rocky and maybe one or two other things for like the training. But that one was a really fun one too. Very culturally relevant. And again, same thing with a couple of the throwbacks here and there and kind of callbacks on, XYZ culture from 20 years ago, which I think really landed well with our audience.
Yeah, and I think they do a really good job of sticking with their brand. I mean, I do think of it as like the workout humans beer, the fitness minded humans beer. Right or wrong, they've kind of commandeered that space and owned it really well. And this commercial was another illustration of that, kind of in the vein of Emotional Jenna, but I'm guessing you liked it too. Was the Dove, The Game Is Ours, featuring the young girls playing a lot of manner of sports. I saw a volleyball clip in there, which is very exciting. Flag football, which is on the rise, and an NCAA collegiate sanctioned sport for girls now too. I feel like that had it all in terms of like, you kind of wanted to get up and move. It was empowerment for girls. It started with the data. And Dove is just another great brand that has owned that space. And it is what you expect from them, but they're still delivering this really feel-good content. Kudos to Dove, as per usual.
Well, and I was going to say, I don't think you have to go with the unexpected in this. I think sticking with your brand is actually the way that most of these brands went, and I think it worked. I'm going to go to my favorite ad. And this goes against, I'll just say, this goes against what I normally say. Okay, so normally I am more a fan of leaning into the characters and kind of iconography that brands have created over the years. So I'll just put that out there. That said, the Dunkin' Donuts ad was by far, I loved it for so many different reasons. Look, I'm a 90s kid, 80s, 90s kid, and so Good Will Hunting was my favorite movie growing up. I think I said this to you, Em, but I probably watched that movie at way too young of an age. I've watched it so many times. So there's that. Friends was my favorite show. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen that series. I don't know what that says about me, but one of my all-time favorites. So you start to combine the characters from Friends and the storylines from that with Ben Affleck and a bunch of other stuff for Dunks, and just it was a slam dunk for me. And
Pun intended.
let me just add to this. I think this was the fourth year that Dunks has done ads with Ben. Tom Brady was in it definitely last year and this year, and I can't
It was
remember.
at the end. Gosh, I forgot about that until you
Yeah,
just.
so they came out with all of it. It was the nostalgia. It was just, I loved it. I thought it was so fun.
All right, here's my counterpoint because I, like you, love it all. Good Will Hunting, Friends, maybe not Tom Brady, but again, I only spent 5 years in the Boston market. But, I love the accent. I think Good Will Hunting took it to a whole new level. That being said, I was tracking until I wasn't. I just felt as though they just threw so much at it.
You did. It was messy, but I found that fun.
Well, and it gets people talking. I mean, that kind of star power, you sort of expect one A-lister. There's tons.
Jennifer Aniston, like that, just
100%. And to loop it back to AI, though, sometimes I do really feel like it throws me off. The other one that we hadn't mentioned before, Jenna, was Xfinity with Jurassic Park, which I did actually like that ad. However, it felt like so AI that it was distracting.
I actually I don't think I saw that ad. So
Okay.
now I'm gonna have to go watch it.
Yeah, you're
but
gonna
I'm
have to
not,
look that one up.
and I am actually a Jurassic Park fan too.
Okay,
So
good. You're gonna like it. It was basically all about like, oh geez, had they had Xfinity, the park wouldn't have gone offline. But point being, that was distracting AI, and I think it played a little factor in the Duncan side too. But I appreciate it for what it
notice.
was.
See, like you cannot rain on my parade
That's
of this
okay.
ad. I didn't even
Don't let me.
notice the ad. Now I'm gonna go back and watch it and maybe try to, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It was my fave. And with that, I will say two things. One, any favorite ads that you had that we didn't mention?
Well, we didn't really talk about Southwest, which we were a divided household on that. This was also just an example of sort of this is a legacy carrier for the airlines, but kind of going against their brand prop because they're doing such a massive rehaul on so many levels. So it's the lack of assigned seating, right? And I don't know if you saw it, Jenna.
I was going to say I did not see it.
Yeah, everyone was like freaking out, and basically the party line was, "Oh, isn't it great? We're gonna start with assigned seating." Now, that really resonated with my partner because that is the single most thing he really does not like about Southwest.
Oh my
But
God, I
have
love
been-
that about Southwest.
No,
I'm so bummed that they're switching it.
Hey, man, and it was a funny ad, like objectively funny ad, but I think it was an example of depending on your relationship with the brand, you kind of had a completely different take on the
Yeah.
feeling it gave you. So I was kind of like, you're sort of bashing what you built. Your
That is
airline.
interesting. That is so, and I don't want to derail this. Maybe we can have a future episode on this, but that takes me into change management and change comms. And I'm not sure the way to navigate through a massive brand change is to bash or denigrate what you've done for years and years and years. So I would love to dive into that more.
Yeah,
And
dive into that, Jenna. And I think it is a great topic for another pod because it's important, right? So put that in the queue. Leave it there.
All right. With that, let's chat real quick. Our question of the day that we always ask, what's our impact?
Yeah, so I think from a client perspective, this week it's been exciting. We have a new project that has just been empowering. I think what it has helped us underscore is transparency in client relationship, embracing the pivot where needed, all in the interest of being the most efficient with your work as possible, and then driving impact when the landscape is more inviting or less distracted. And we're talking about the media landscape in particular.
Yep, I agree. I think we've done a really bang up job in the last week and a half with a couple clients on getting earned media, and feeling out the landscape and trying to strike the right tone and pivoting, as you said. So that's been really fun. And then I think also to just give us kudos, we launched this podcast. We are so excited to have it out in the world. It's so meaningful, not just to us, but to our full team. We got some great feedback from family and friends and colleagues and old colleagues and clients, and that's been awesome. So thank you to everyone who is listening, who is on this little journey with us, and to those who have already signed up to be future guests. Thank you. We cannot wait to welcome you. We actually have our very first guest joining us next week. So we'll tease that out soon, but excited to have that infuse a few more thoughts, opinions, ideas, and new perspectives.
Yeah, you guys are going to be really excited about it. So we are looking very forward to what's ahead. It's awesome. Jenna, I want you to have a fabulous